But now on the NVTV, a real icon is back where he belongs, bringing great entertainment well and truly back to your screens on a Friday night. Yes, indeed, it's glamour, excitement and beautiful people all the way on Tonight with Gerry Kelly.
Movie House Cinemas, proud sponsors of Tonight with Gerry Kelly. Treat yourself to a movie. Relax in VIP recliner seating without the VIP price tag at Cityside, Glengormley, Mackara and Coleraine. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Gerry Kelly.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, welcome to the programme. Coming to you from the E3 studios from here in the Belfast Metropolitan College. Now, as you know, a group of my former colleagues at UTV, well, they're working very closely with the media students here this term to bring you a short series of Tonight with Gerry Kelly programmes. This evening we have quite a mixture for you, from a West End singing star to an award-winning Hamley chef, and we even have the original Derry Girl and lots more in between. Now, back in 1997 it was, my first guest was an international yo-yo champion, travelling the world bringing joy to the masses with his yo-yo. Yes, you heard me right, he was an international yo-yo champion. He comes from North Belfast, although today, through various ups and downs, he's an award-winning comedian and actor. Will you please give a big welcome to Terry McHugh. Terry, good to see you. Terry, I understand the comedy, but yo-yoing, like that's something I did when I was about 5 years of age. You're a yo-yo champion.
Yo-yo champion.
Is it a sport?
I don't know what it is. It's something that people who don't have girlfriends do. It's honestly when I was 4, I seen a guy in a shopping centre in Belfast and he was playing yo-yos and he was running a competition, and I turned around to my cousin and I said, he was my older cousin, and I said, I'm going to be one of them when I grow up.
So you got yourself a yo-yo?
So I got myself a yo-yo and I practiced like mad, and the yo-yo people went away and they came back in 1996, 97 and they were running the competitions and the promotion again. And
what age were you at that stage?
That stage I was 16, turning 17.
And you had been practising all this time in yo-yos?
Well, no, because what happened was, you see, when got a girlfriend. When the guys went away, they stopped selling the strings for the yo-yo, so you eventually ran out of strings and you had this yo-yo, nothing you could do with it. Right. So they came back around 96 and began practising like mad. The guy running the competition was called Ken Russell. The yo-yos were called Russell Spinners. I put 2 and 2 together, walked up to this guy, wee North Belfast Terry, and just went, "Here mate, how do I get your job?" And he said, "Come back to me playing with 2 yo-yos at once, and yeah, we'll take you on, you can travel the world and you can be a yo-yo champion."
What do you mean travel the world? Like where? Portrush and so on?
Well no, you see, that's the thing, because I heard nothing from them, so I went back to him and went, "There's 2 yo-yos, aren't they brilliant?" And he says, "Right, we'll be in touch." I heard nothing for a year. Forgot all about it. The phone rang one day and they spoke to my father, make sure he was all right for me to go way off as a 17-year-old. So I got put on the phone and he says, "Right, you're going to be a yo-yo champion, we're going to take you away, you're going to the Republic of," and my wee head's going, "Oh, Republic of, it's somewhere exotic, it's going to be amazing. Republic of Ireland, you're going to Dundalk for 3 months." So that's where it started, but then after that they sent me to Holland, 17 years of age, paying me money. There's Holland, there's a flat, there's an expenses account. Sure, what could go wrong?
What was the act? You walked on stage and you...
We see, it wasn't stage, as you say, it all sounds more glamorous than it was. We basically went round, you went to schools during the day and you told the kids where the competitions were going to be. Right. So they would come to the competitions. A lot of the competitions were in like wee corner shops out in the street, and you just had an audience.
You're not selling this very well. I had you up as the
world
yo-yo champion.
Well, I am. I mean, there's no one else in Ireland as good as me at it.
Can you still do it? You got a yo-yo with you?
Do you know what? Just by sheer chance, I do happen to have a yo-yo here.
Odd that, isn't it? Right, this is a genuine, normal yo-yo
standard yo-yo. This is 2 bits of plastic with a piece of wood through it.
That nobody buys nowadays.
Nobody
whatsoever.
buys anymore because they don't have Wi-Fi or screens or Angry Birds or whatever it is.
So,
but that's just the standard.
Bog standard.
That's a £2 yo-yo.
Oh, show us what you can do.
You see. So when we've done the competitions, the kids had to do basic tricks. So they had to do, like, that was the first trick. That's the spin, 1, 2, 3, back to your hand, you know. Don't applaud that or anything, like, you know. If you're applauding that, wait till you see what's coming. Next trick you had was walk the dog on the floor.
Oh, very good.
Back to your hand.
Okay, very good, yes.
Honestly, see if you're clapping this stuff. See what I'm going to do in a wee minute, your heads are going to explode. This trick, like, it was 17 countries I went to. I was in Holland, I was in France, I was in Spain, Ukraine, Lithuania, I was everywhere. Doing that. There's this trick here we done. Right? Every country I went to that was called Over the Falls. Up the Shankill, depending on where you're from. And there was this, that's Rock the Baby, you know. But that's the simple stuff. To be a yo-yo champion, you had to do, you know, stuff like that. You know, there was this. That's the star. Anyway. That is a shamrock. Okay. Simple. But you'd think that would have got me the ladies, but it didn't.
Nothing.
No. So I thought.
Two at
two,
one time.
You know what I mean? If I can, if I can play with 2 at once, maybe the ladies will fall over themselves. You know what I mean? So this is what I had to do. Basically, my job interview was come back to me and play with 2 yo-yos at once. Now, it's been a while since I swung these, and there's a lot of expensive stuff around. So I have signed a disclaimer. If I smash anything, it's on the college, it's not on me. Right? So that's loop-the-loop, right? That's the trick we had to do at the end of the competition. In a tie break, you done loop-the-loop, okay?
Right.
So let's see what happens. There you go.
That's very impressive.
Now there's a big finish to the yo-yo show, but I'm not going to show you that.
Is that when you do 3?
That's called juggling. No, I'm not going to show you the big finish because I'm going to be putting a show on in the Grand Opera House. In the Grand Opera House.
A round of applause for that, because I think that was absolutely fabulous. Now, you're married now.
Married now.
With children.
With 3 of them.
And I take it they all have taken up the yo-yo business. Not at all.
I genuinely thought when they were up, I'll show them this, they'll be amazed.
Not at all.
Not one bit. Not one bit. I mean, you're dragging the boy away from FIFA to go, look at me with my yo-yos. They've no interest. They've no interest. The way girl, my daughter, she tried just because she's daddy's girl, she thought, I'll humour him. She learnt one trick and went, right, I'm done with this. No interest whatsoever.
Right, you've moved away from the yo-yo. You're now a comedian.
Yes.
And you're opening for Jake O'Kane when Jake goes on tour shortly after.
I've been opening for Jake for 6 years.
So how did you use the yo-yo business in the comedy?
Yeah, it's... Do you know what I love, by the way? When you open for Jake O'Kane, they're all going, oh, I know him. But who's that guy sitting there? If you've seen Jake, you've seen me. No, but comedy, the rule of comedy is at the end of the show, the end of your bit, you have to have a big joke. Right? And I was too lazy to write a big joke. So I genuinely thought, if I take the big finish from the yo-yos and shoehorn it in to the end of my comedy bit, I'll not have to write a halfway decent joke, you know. And the big finish is that you just take the yo-yo and you put it in your pocket.
And that's it.
That's the finish. But as I say, the way we do it is we flick it out in front of us, it goes back between our legs and then lands in our pocket. That's how we do it. So that's
we'd love to see that, wouldn't we? Yeah. Oh, we'd love to see that.
Really? Okay. I was going to save this for when you all came to see me live, but you know what? Just for you select few. Now, you'll know this has gone wrong if I'm on the floor making BG noises.
So you're going to do what now?
The yo-yo goes out in front of us, comes back, lands in my pocket. Right?
Got you.
Now, I get 3 goes at this because it's very hard to do. And what I need you to do is, I need you to do that clap thing that they do in the Olympics, right? When people are doing things, so do that and we'll see what happens, right? So here we go.
Yeah!
That most never happens.
Terry, thank you so much indeed. When will people see you on stage with Jake and so on?
I'm out with Jake. We start December 28th in Omagh, of all places, and then we're all over the place. We're in the Ulster Hall on the 21st of January. And just theatres all over. Just check your local listings, as they say. And then I'll be out after him. So March, April time, you can catch me. We're doing Studio Room in the Opera House. So just keep an eye out for that as well.
You'll recognise him. He's the boy with the yo-yos. Terry, it was a joy. Thank you so much indeed. Terry, McHugh, ladies and gentlemen. Terry, thank you. Enjoyed that. Thoroughly enjoyed that. OK, now, as you well know, there's a vast amount of cookery programmes on television at the minute. But there's one that sort of always stands out in my mind. And one of the reasons for it is because the person who does it, she talks in our language, she cooks our food, and she cooks in a way that even I understand.
No matter the season, whether it's a dreich day or a sunny day, I crave food that's comforting, a real hug in a bowl. And I only have to look back to some of the first recipes I learned to make as a wean and Acadue for inspiration.
Oh, that takes me back.
Well-loved Ulster Scots fare, such as wheaten farls, shortbread, and of course, spuds.
What would you call them?
Potatoes, toties and tatties.
These dishes and many others have been handed down through the generations, and the view on my doorstep reminds me of my own people from Islay, who brought many traditional recipes with them when they settled on these shores.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the wonderful Paula McIntyre.
How are you? Good to see you.
Great to see you. Gosh, it is great to see you.
I know, it's great. I haven't seen you for so long.
No, it's for so long.
We used to every Saturday morning
We used to have
together.
the crack on a Saturday morning together.
And it was great.
And now, look at you, you're a television star.
And you are too.
Oh, we're both television stars again. The Hamley Kitchen that you do, it is the most beautiful cooking programme I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you.
It's beautifully shot, it's beautiful, everything about it. What is the attraction to it? Is it because you use a lot of the Ulster Scots produce, or because it's shot up in your beautiful homeland, or what is it?
Not my house, unfortunately. No, I think it's because a combination of everything. Maybe I think that it's the scenery, and it's the the food's there for you. You don't have to go to a specialist shop. You know, it's using things like turnip. Do you use quite a lot of butter in it, Gerry?
You do.
No, yes, I do.
You do.
And just everything that you can, everything's available. You know, it's a sort of a celebration of what we have here, and we've got great stuff. You know, potatoes. You know, everything like that.
For me, do you know the real secret of the whole thing? It's you.
Right.
It's the way you talk. It's just your own language. You just use your own language. There's no airs and graces about you.
No.
It does what it says on the tin. You're not an actress.
No.
You just do it the way it is.
Well, the thing about it is, I remember going to America. I lived in England, and I always had this accent. It was just I never shook it, and I don't want to. You know.
Did nobody ever tell you, look, Paul, if you're going to do television?
Well, I remember whenever first somebody approached me about doing radio, and I said, no, I couldn't do radio. You would get the sack. You know, if you put me in the radio. No, we're looking for real things now. You know, and I thought, well, all right. I said, as long as you don't ask me to change my accent. And I do Radio 4 now and again, and they just get me to avoid ever saying 8. And I said, if I say 8, take a gun out to me.
It's a number between 7 and 9. Yes. You were talking to America. You trained in America,
I went to university in America, many years ago. Just by a bit of luck, you know, just happened to get a scholarship for... Remember the good old International Fund for Ireland?
Yes.
Sent 6 of us over to Providence in Rhode Island, and we were there for 3 months. And it was one of those situations where I thought, I'm just going to embrace this, and I did everything and worked at the weekends in the college, still having a good time too, Gerry, you know me. And at the end of it all, they asked me, they offered me a scholarship for 2 years, you know, so it was great, you know, and it's like, you know, really good experience.
Then what, you come back home?
Came back home, and then I worked at home for a while here, and then I went to Manchester, opened a restaurant in Manchester, had that for a few years.
You opened your own restaurant?
Yeah, I had that when I was probably too young, and I learnt a lot then.
Did you?
I learnt a lot. I have got an allergy to VAT, and it's like, and that was I think that was maybe And when I came back here, just you know, sort of that's when I got into doing a bit of radio and stuff. But that wasn't what I wanted to do. I just wanted to be a cook and work in kitchens and not have, you know, the
but why
media
wouldn't you have
thing.
opened your own restaurant here?
Because I think it was just, you know, just a wee bit the business side of it, Gerry. I like to cook, and you see all the VAT returns and doing your.
It's as simple as that, is it?
I just couldn't be bothered with it. You know, I'm sorry, but that's it.
No,
And
I understand.
And now, sure, you can't get any staff. I'm delighted I don't have a restaurant now. I have a grown man ringing me crying now down the phone because I can't get anybody to work for me. I'm like, all right, okay.
Are you a fussy eater? Would you eat anything?
No.
Do you complain when you go out?
No.
Never complain?
Never
Even if the
complain.
meal's bad?
No, just don't eat it. And half the time they don't ask you. You know, they don't ask you anymore. You know, it used to say, is everything okay? And then, no. Do you not find that when you leave a lot of stuff and they don't say?
No, they don't. They just
They
take
just
it away.
ignore it. They just take it away.
Yeah,
you know?
but they come to you 5 times throughout the meal and says everything all
Then
right.
when there is something wrong, they don't come near you.
They don't come near you.
When you're not eating it.
I understood that.
No, and I'm very delighted. You know, if I go to somebody's house, you know, you always think people who cook for a living are fussy. The most unfussy people ever. You're just delighted with anybody. If somebody just put me down some potatoes with butter on them, I'd be, oh, this is beautiful, delightful. Just because they've cooked it and they did the dishes as well.
You mentioned, you mentioned potatoes and butter. You do use ordinary food. Here's another little bit from the Hamley kitchen. Have a look at this.
Is there butter in this?
There probably is.
That's the sign of a good bread and butter pudding, when it kind of it quivers when you put your knife into it. See that there? It's like, woo! Okay. And then you just take a nice scoop of our cream there, just on top of that. There you go, Vita as you've never seen it before, and just a nice change from toasting it and putting jam on it. A bit of nostalgia on a plate.
Vita as you've never tasted it before.
Vita bread and butter pudding. Oh, that's good.
At home for yourself, would you cook something special for yourself, or would you not bother? No.
No, very rarely. Just, you know, baked potato, big thing.
Really?
Because every week I'm doing I do a column in the Belfast Telegraph, and we're doing the radio, so I have to cook all that stuff beforehand. So, you know, that'll be maybe eat that, and my neighbours are very happy with me.
I bet they
are very happy neighbours.
What about fancy food and so on? You go out to these fancy restaurants, and I've been in them, and they offer you, there's a whole selection, and they mention all these French names, and you think you're about to get something substantial. And all it is, it's a wee swirl of something.
I know.
Between 3 chips and a small.
I know.
You know, what's that all about?
I don't know, Gerry.
You're not into that sort of...
No, I think I love Italy. You know, I love going to Italy, and I love the food there, and it's all, you know, it's very, you know, it's nice. It's what you're, you know, the best food in Italy is when, you know, what the mothers make, the mamas, and that's my favourite kind of food. You know, go to Italy and all the regions are different, and you know, it's all very much of that place. And I think we nearly have that here now. We've got food from a place, like, you know, everybody used to sort of, you know, we'd have been, soda farls, they're everywhere now. Champs and great restaurants. Dulce is another thing you see in fancy restaurants now. You would see Dulce, you know, maybe a Dulce butter. And I think we've come full circle. We're really proud of what we do here now. You know, and Vita bread, sure, Vita's fantastic.
You couldn't beat Vita.
Oh, Vita, sure, it's beautiful, isn't it? I mean, just a bit, you know, if you're not feeling well,
bit of Vita.
Be a bit of toasted Vita and a tin of Heinz tomato soup. Sure, that will sort you out. And if that doesn't, there's something wrong. Go to the doctor. If the Lucozade and the Vita and the tomato soup, it's time to ring doctor and call, isn't it? And pseudo cream.
Gordon Ramsay has done the business no favours, has he?
No, I think the old shouty thing, you know, was a bit...
That's a bit off.
Look, I worked in his restaurant. We had this thing years ago called Lectures on Dentistry. You know, I taught for... You used to tell me to leave it. Do you remember? And I eventually did. Gerry, I've done it. I've left teaching. I was like... but I remember we did this Lectures on Dentistry, and I went to his restaurant for 3 weeks. And you start at 6 in the morning and you finish at 1 in the morning. It was hectic. But in that restaurant, it's silent. The kitchen is silent. So you see all that shouting and getting on. That does not happen.
That's for television.
That kitchen is like, only thing you'll hear is numbers, and it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, up on the pass with the food, and that's what you'll hear. Them counting down. It's that precise. Wow. So it's not, it's all for that shouting. Well, it's a small kitchen, it's a small restaurant. And you don't want to, you know, when you used to go into restaurants, it doesn't really happen very often. And every time the door opened, you hear the chef shouting and swearing. Like, you're out for a nice meal. You don't want to hear that. So I think that's...
You wouldn't swear?
No.
Congratulations on your,
congratulations for not swearing.
No. On your MBE in 2018, because I haven't spoken to you. Congratulations.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
And are you still swimming every day? You go
Not every day, but good, you know.
You go into the sea every day?
I go into the sea as much as I can.
That's where the lovely complexion comes from.
And it's still good. It's starting to get a bit cold now. I was in yesterday and it was like, there was a wee bit of swearing, I'll be honest.
You nearly cursed there. Paula, it's lovely
to
see you.
Yeah.
Good luck with the new programme.
Thank you.
We're still a few to see yet.
Two more to see. Yeah.
Class.
Thanks a million.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fabulous Paula McIntyre.
Thanks a million. Thank you.
There we are. It's going to go to bed. By the way, Paula's cookbook, it's called, what else would you call it? It's called the Down to Earth Cookbook. Simple as that.
That's it.
You're a charmer. We're going to take a break. See you in a couple of minutes. Bye.
Hello, my name is Eli Mikhailova, and I'm doing my second year in creative media production and factual television. In today's show, I'm working as a camera operator, and I hope to work in the TV and film industry in the near future.
Here we are on the north coast, where sporting legends are made. He needs this putt to advance to the next stage, but can he do it? The crowd are holding their breath. Can he cope with the pressure?
Dad, would you take the shot?
Yes! Yes!
Well,
Movie House Cinemas are taking you back in time for fantastic family film favourites in November, and tickets are just £3. We're kicking off with the original Beauty and the Beast this week at Movie House Cityside, Glengormley, Mackeraw and Coleraine. Book now at moviehouse.co.uk for family favourites at just £3 per ticket.
Direct from Sweden, Arrival, one of the world's greatest ABBA shows, performing the music of ABBA at the SSE Arena Belfast, featuring original ABBA musicians and the Ulster Orchestra. The SSE Arena Belfast, Saturday the 7th of January. Tickets on sale now at ticketmaster.ie.
Thank you. Welcome back. Now, my next guest could easily be described as the original Derry girl. 52 years ago, at 18, this young child, Derry schoolgirl, was selected to represent Ireland in the Eurovision Song Contest of 1970 in Amsterdam. The song, of course, was All Kinds of Everything, but little did she know then the impact of winning the competition would have on the rest of her life. Would you please welcome Dana? Hello. Isn't it just great to see you?
Great to be here. Great to be here.
People sometimes talk about, you know, moments in their lives that change it forever. The 21st of March, wasn't it?
21st March.
1970.
Yes.
Changed yours forever.
Oh, completely. Completely. And it was such a shock, you know, Gerry. So I remember in the week that we were there, I had never been abroad before. I thought everywhere abroad must be hot because people always came back from abroad with a tan. So I went to Amsterdam, it was freezing. And we went to certain, it's not like today where it's a huge promotional thing, but I went to certain things. But one memory I have, this very elegant gentleman sat beside me at one of these events, and he said, "Do you know, I think you'll do very, very well." Well, do you know, you never can take a compliment. And I said back to him, "I bet you say that to all the girls." Meaning nothing but the shock on his face. I thought, oh God, I wonder who he is. Well, I found out later he was Billy Cotton, and he was the head of BBC. And I thought to myself, God, he must think I'm a real cheeky brat. But he repeated it to me word for word about 8 years later when I was on the Shirley Bassey show.
My goodness.
And word for word, I must have shocked him that much.
You weren't plucked from obscurity. You know, people might think, well, they just found you one day. You had actually been singing for a while around the clubs in Ireland.
Yeah, well, everybody in Derry sang. I mean, it was a very musical city. And I started singing folk music. So I sang at weekends, like on a Friday after school. I'd be driving to Dublin. I'd be driven to Dublin. And I would do like 2 shows that night and maybe 2 or 3 shows the next night. So I was on with, you know, really folk greats.
Yes.
Like the Dubliners and I can't even Planksty and all those people. I mean, I loved folk music.
So it didn't come as a shock to you that you would have been chosen for
well,
Ireland?
I auditioned. I auditioned the year before.
All right.
I took the bus after school in my school uniform down to Dublin and I auditioned for a man called Tom McGrath, who was head of light entertainment for RTE. Yes. Now, I came second in that year, but it was so nerve-wracking. I was so petrified. I decided I was going to give up singing because I couldn't stand the nerves. And I did. That was in the spring. In the summer, I gave up because I was doing my A-levels and I thought, well, I have to get serious here. I have to study. So I thought, that's the end of my career. But that Christmas, he remembered me. And he literally called our home and he said, I have a song I think would suit you in the National Song Contest for 1970. Would you sing it? Well, I had to get permission to do it because it was a couple of months from my A-levels starting. So I never dreamt that I had a chance, and neither did anybody else, Gerry, to be honest. Neither did anybody else. So I went there. I had nothing to lose. I thought I'll never ever do this again, but what a wonderful way to go.
Opportunity, yes.
And then I won it, and
not only did you win it, you beat Mary Hopkin was in it.
Mary
Remember,
Hopkin.
She sang "Knock Knock, Who's There?"
Beautiful girl. She was lovely.
Do you know who was 4th that year?
Julio Iglesias.
Was 4th the year you won.
Yeah. Yes. You see, if you want to be an international star, you have to come 4th in the Eurovision Song Contest.
Tell me this, do you watch it today?
I do.
Do you?
I do.
Is it anywhere near the Eurovision that you entered?
It took an adjustment.
Yeah.
Because, you know, from television, I remember working with Morecambe and Wise, and always in their television show, they worked in front of a curtain. And they had a massive studio. And I asked them, why do you work in front of a curtain? And they said, because for the viewer, they feel they're in a theatre and there's an intimacy. Yeah. And that's how they came up in vaudeville. So or variety, I mean. So they always were used to working on a stage with a curtain behind them. So when Eurovision moved from a theatre, because I sang in a theatre, to a stadium, you have a terrible conflict because a stadium show, the performer has to be big because you're reaching a huge room. But for television...
It's very intimate.
It's 1-to-1.
Yeah, I got you.
So, you know, I felt it was a terrible conflict. And then they had all these initially, like we missed all the 90s because we weren't here, but when we came back in the 2000s, they had all these gadgets and effects, and you were distracted by what was happening.
It became less about the song than anything else.
Absolutely, it was huge. You know, it was like a huge. I don't want to say a circus show, but it was
circus.
Yeah, it was big, too big for the television.
Yeah. Yes.
But I think it's calmed down. I think it's matured. I think some of the songs are terrific. Some of the artists are really fine artists.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. After 70, you were huge. You were never off our television sets. You were in every show there was. You mentioned Shirley Bassey, Morecambe and Wise, you name it. Dana was on it. You had your own shows. Yeah. What kept your feet on the ground? What kept you planted?
Oh, my mommy and my daddy.
Was it been the real Derry girl? Was
it? Yeah, but you know, I was infectious from I was 6 years old. I was dancing, I was singing, I was playing the piano, I was playing the violin, but only once. And you know, it's my mother used to come to see me every time I was on the stage, as she did with all in our family. But she always told each of us, if you win, don't get big-headed, because there's always someone who's going to be better than you. And if you lose, don't get downhearted, because there's always going to be somebody who's worse than you. And she said, it's better to be a good winner than a bad loser.
Here.
So that was drummed into us, you know. So when I won Eurovision, because I was a musician, I wasn't studying singing, I studied piano and classical music. So I was a musician. So I knew that I was a greenhorn. I mean, the first cabaret I did in England, the week before me was Louis Armstrong. And following me was Shirley Bassey. And I was there with my guitar singing folk songs with this huge band behind me. So, I mean, my father was a musician and he travelled everywhere with me. So I knew how much I had to learn. So I learnt my trade after. It's a bit like, you know, when you get your driving licence. Yeah. You only really learn to drive when you've got your licence.
Yes, but fame, the fortune came with it too. Like, you weren't used to money, and I'm not asking what you earned, but you had, I'm sure you were earning a lot of money in the 80s.
Yes.
How were you coping with that? Because, you know, somebody from the Creggan, 18-year-old, was not used to having a lot of money.
Well, do you know, after Eurovision, the greatest thing for me was to be able to buy a house for my mother and father. That meant the world, because we were living in the flats, in the Bogside flats. And we had great neighbours, but of course, as you know, the troubles began to rage and it became not a safe place to walk, not a safe place to live. So, and I remember my mother saying, I've seen the house of my dreams. And to be able to buy that for them, wow. That meant more than Eurovision. That was wonderful.
I bet.
Yeah.
What a lovely thing to be able to do.
Oh yeah, great.
Away from that, how did you get into politics? What drew you to that?
Yeah, I've asked myself that many times, Gerry.
What came first when you stood for the presidency?
I did. But Damien said, start at the top and work your way down.
But your presidency, your first attempt at presidency, well, you finished third behind Mary McAleese.
Yeah.
But why did you get into it? Why bother? Like,
at
the start, Dana, to be honest, when we heard Dana's going for the presidency, we sort of went, are you serious? Dana's going for the presidency?
Yeah.
You must have heard that yourself at the time.
Oh, I said it myself. I did, honestly, because I never liked politics.
Yeah.
And I certainly never wanted to be in politics, because in many ways we saw politics fail here. And so I wouldn't watch the news anymore. And I didn't want to know anymore, because we just seemed to have failure after failure through those years. But what happened was I had become aware of real concerns that ordinary people on the ground had. And they felt that nobody was listening. You know, among themselves they knew, but they were disconnected. They didn't hear their worries and concerns being broadcast on a national level. They never heard their concerns being discussed on a national level, and they felt completely disconnected. And what happened was, I had a platform, and they asked me would I voice what they felt, and at first I said no, absolutely not, because I knew it was ridiculous. But then I thought, well, no, I have a platform, and maybe I can just speak for them.
Yeah.
And that's all I did. I just spoke for them.
But then you became an MEP.
I didn't
member
mean
of the
that
European
either.
Parliament.
I didn't mean that either.
Yeah.
But in the presidential election, you know, we didn't have a campaign team. We were always late going everywhere because we didn't have a schedule. We just met people and talked to people and mostly listened. And I remember pulling into this particular town one night, and I got out of the car, and there was a group of people in that doorway, and there was a group of people in this doorway, and they'd been standing there for over an hour, but they'd never talked. But they were both there to greet me, and I didn't know who they were either. So what happened was lots and thousands of people who kind of put their head forward we just made a clearing in the forest, and we said, this is what we think, and if you agree, doesn't matter what you think or who you believe or what you are, just come. And they did. So when the European elections came around, I mean, after the presidential election, I thought, well, thank God that's over, and we're still alive, and we can go back to normal living. But those people said, look, please, will you speak for us again in the European election? And I truly didn't think I had a chance, but I got elected as an MEP.
Indeed you did. Dana, you've had a fascinating lifestyle. Can you believe that it's 53 years since that little 18-year-old girl stood up? And look at the life that you've led since.
Oh, I know. It's often been very exhausting and challenging, but it has never been boring.
Never been boring?
No.
And how many children now?
4 children.
All over the world?
Yeah. Africa, Australia, typical Irish family, Dublin, and still one at home with us. And he's got quite used to the ball and chain around his leg. We're not letting him go.
Are you still married to that Damien fella?
Oh, yes, but sure, what can you do?
Okay. Dana, it's a joy seeing you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dana, give her a round of applause. Okay, coming up in part 3, we're going to take a break now, but coming up in part 3, we're going to meet Mr. Showman, Northern Ireland's answer to the showman of this country. See you in a couple of minutes. Bye.
Hi, my name's Lily. I study HND motion graphics at Belfast Met. I'm in my 2nd year, and I helped work on the title sequence for the Gerry Kelly show. And hopefully by the end of this, I'll land myself a job somewhere doing 3D animation.
Let the good times roll at Super Strikes at the Jet Centre. You can now book your lane online. We've got 14 bowling lanes and 4 mini bowling lanes. Plus we serve delicious hot food and snacks. Discover bowling today at the Jet Centre. Jet Centre, entertainment for everyone.
House Cinemas are taking you back in time for fantastic family film favourites in November, and tickets are just £3. We're kicking off with the original Beauty and the Beast this week at Movie House Cityside, Glengormley, Mackeraw and Coleraine. Book now at moviehouse.co.uk for family favourites at just £3 per ticket.
Thank you very much indeed. Welcome back. I was chatting to my next guest yesterday, and he reminded me that he'll be celebrating his 30th anniversary in the business next year. It's a scary thought, as it only seems like yesterday since I first introduced him on television. But I couldn't be prouder of all that he has achieved in those 30 years. We'll talk about that later. But first, seeing the beautiful Bellew Wood, would you give a huge welcome, please, to the fabulous Peter Corry.
Oh, the snowflakes fell in silence over Bellew Wood that night, for a Christmas truce had been declared by both sides of the fight. As we lay there in our trenches, the silence broke in two by a German soldier singing a song that we all knew. Though I did not know the language, the song was Silent Night. Then my friend, he smiled and whispered, all is calm, all is bright, and the fear and doubt surrounded me. For I'd die if I was wrong. But I stood up in my trench and I began to sing along. Then across the frozen battlefield, another's voice joined in, until one by one each man became the singer of the year. Then I thought that I was dreaming, for right there in my sights stood the German soldier neath the falling flakes of white. Then he raised his hand, he smiled at me as if he seemed to say, here's hoping we both live to see us find a better way. Then the devil's clock struck midnight and the skies lit up again, and the battlefield where heaven stood, it was blown to hell again. But for just one fleeting moment, the answer seems so clear. Heaven's not beyond the clouds, it's just beyond the fear. No, heaven's not beyond the clouds, it's for us to find here.
Hello. Hello. Class. Who has the most beautiful song? Bellew Wood.
Yeah.
That's, you know the story behind that?
Yeah, it's actually two stories sort of put together. During both from the First World War,
Yes.
The Bellew Wood battle took place in 1918 between American and German soldiers. But Garth Brooks put it together with basically the story that we all know of the many moments in the 1914 time in the battle whenever everyone stopped fighting.
Yes, for Christmas Day.
And came together for Christmas Day.
So
it's a marriage of the two stories.
It's a marriage of the two songs.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier, 30 years. Can you imagine? Well, what age were you when you realised that you had a voice? Because when I first knew you, you played a musical instrument.
Played the French horn.
You played the French horn. So when did the voice take over?
I started singing when I was about 16 in church, and it sort of came around that I was from a brass band family, and all my brother and my cousins were all brilliant at the brass instruments, and I always sort of, I wasn't always as good. You know what I thought? I didn't want to play second fiddle,
yes.
Or second French horn. and I sort of thought I'd give the singing a go. So we formed a group in church, and somebody played the guitar, and somebody played the drums, and somebody played the keyboard, and they said, "And what are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to sing." And they said, "Can you sing?" I said, "Of course I can." And I went home that night and I put on a Meatloaf album. And I sang along with the Meatloaf album and thought, yeah, I can sing, I'll do that. Yeah.
And then you entered a talent competition. Go for it, I remember it well.
Yeah.
That was about 1992. 1992.
Yeah, it was the RTE, BBC,
That's right, I remember it well.
That's right, yeah.
And you won that.
And I won that, and literally, went out on a Sunday night, 19th of December, just before Christmas. And the next day, a London agent called me and she said, "Peter, darling," nobody had called me darling before. She said, "Peter, darling, I hear you're great and I'd love you to come over and see me in London." And her name was Jean Diamond, and literally from that, I sort of, started going over, and, you know, it was a very unusual route to take to get into it.
How difficult have the past 30 years been? Because as far as I can see, it's not good enough just to have a good voice. You need to have something additional. Am I right?
You do. You need to be driven. You need to be lucky. You need to just keep persevering and keep knocking at the door.
But you have to reinvent yourself in many different ways.
Yeah. You do. But I suppose I always had in me this idea that I liked to not just sing, but be involved in putting things together and the nuts and bolts of something. So production I was always in the background, like even when I came out of Les Mis, that time when I left the West End, the Odyssey Arena had just opened, and I asked Cameron McIntosh if he'd think of taking Les Mis to Belfast, the concert version, because it's never been here in this wonderful venue, and he said, "No, Peter, but I know you've been doing charity concerts around with Les Mis around with the cast. You take it and produce it." So I sort of fell a little bit into production as well, and did that. And
talk to me about that Les Mis, because that was a dream come true, was it not? You got the part of Javert in the West End. There are two parts, well, there are a lot of parts of it, but that's one of the big parts.
Yeah.
But I remember you telling me that it's not all that it's cracked up to be.
Oh, it's hard work.
You were doing what, 7, 8, 9 shows?
8 shows a week. Yeah.
I remember you telling me it was lonely.
Oh, it was lonely. It was lonely. Yeah, it was. It was. But all parts of this, aspects of this career can be lonely if you're touring or if you're travelling or whatever. And Les Mis was a dream show and a dream role, and I won't, I hope it didn't sound too negative about it, because I look back at it very fondly. But there were times when, when you're in it for 3 or 4 years, and I had a young family at the time, and sort of missed them sort of early years. I remember them coming to London and my daughter hardly coming to me because she hardly knew me, and I thought, it's time to go home for a bit, Yeah.
Talking of reinventing yourself, you've now got Peter Corry Productions, and you are bringing on a lot of young people now around Northern Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, apart from still singing, I have 2 other sort of main strands to my career, which one is Peter Corry Productions and the other is the Belfast School of Performing Arts, where I'm the artistic director. So with Peter Corry Productions, we put on a lot of entertainment events for corporate audiences, and we do a lot of work with councils, and also we do some theatre tours as well, although the theatre tours has obviously for the last couple of years been quieter, but that's starting up again next year. And it's not me and everything. I did not like that. It's sort of, we put on shows where we get the opportunity to bring in singers, dancers, actors, circus performers, hosts, and I'm delighted to get the opportunity. And even like last week, we did an evening of entertainment and an award ceremony, and we had a singer, one of my young singers from my youth shows 12 years ago, who's now in London working, flew over, and he was singing, doing like his own sort of version of a few Elton John songs, and that's what he's doing now. And it's great to get the opportunity to a lot of these young people that I've seen either through the Music Box, which was my Christmas show that always sort of brought on young talent.
That I started
that
on.
You co-starred in. Yeah, you did. So luckily, myself and my wife, who works in the company with me, we have seen these young people come through, and we get no more pleasure than seeing them coming back and performing.
And this is all part of the BSPA.
No, that's Peter Corry Productions.
That's your production. No, tell me about BSPA.
So BSPA is the Belfast School of Performing
Arts,
and I was asked when I was the artistic director 6 years ago for that. So it's going from strength to strength. We've over 700 young people in Northern Ireland who go on a Saturday to learn about acting, singing and dancing. But apart from that, as much as it's about those three disciplines, it's more about them getting confidence and self-belief in themselves.
Yeah, in many ways it's doing what we're trying to do, our UTV colleagues are trying.
This is great, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's giving opportunities to them, and I always say with young people, not everyone's going to go into it as a career. It just can't happen. But if you're a young person, you've had experience of standing up in front of a group of people and communicating, that stands by you for life. Whether you become a teacher, a businessman, a counsellor, or whatever, it's something that's there, and it's great to have and to have the confidence to do.
And you put on shows with the kids?
Yeah, we put on shows. So we have 8 different schools. So the teachers in each school will put on their show. And then I will do the summer show, and I will do if there's anything special happening. Like we had a group of our kids go over to the International Festival in Birmingham last year, and I directed their production. They won the whole thing. And we have a group of young kids going off to Euro Disney to perform in Disney this February. So
when can I join? On top of it all, you still have to sing, and you have to sing various songs. What do you like singing?
Oh, everything.
What do you do?
Gerry,
everything? Have you got a particular genre?
No, I love it all. I love the production and the young people as much as I love performing. I'm really, really lucky, and I get to do it all. And even with the Peter Corry Productions, I do it with Fleur, my wife. And we just have a ball working very hard, really hard.
You're going to be working very hard this Christmas as well.
Yeah,
Tell me about your Christmas show.
Well, for the last, apart from the COVID year, this is going to be about the 14th year of our Christmas show. We did a thing called the Music Box for 10 years, and then...
Which I was the star of.
Yes, you were, Gerry.
Did I mention that?
And then we've now changed that over. After we got the 10 years, the Music Box was taking up an awful big chunk of the year, so we decided we needed to do something that still filled that thing at Christmas. So we do a thing called Christmas at the Cathedral. So Christmas at the Cathedral, which is me with the Celtic tenors, Emer McGowan, Ian McElhenney, a young fellow called Matthew Campbell from Downpatrick, a great singer. So and the BSPA voices, some of the young people from that are involved.
That'll be,
so
when is that exactly?
That's the 16th and 17th of December.
All in St Anne's Cathedral.
All in St Anne's Cathedral. It's a lovely Christmas.
That'll just
and
be
then I'm doing a few dates in February, March next year called Thank You for the Musicals, which is just me getting out on tour with some great young singers and some professional young singers, and all go off to Holland again next year with the Showman Show. And
what a life. And they said it wouldn't last.
You said it wouldn't last.
I want you to do one more for us.
Yeah, okay.
Because we have mentioned Les Mis. And we did mention the part that you played Javert, and the one that you're going to sing for is Stars, which is their big song. Will you make your way across that, Peter? Just to remind you, Peter's going to sing the big song, Javert's big song out of Les Mis. Fabulous song. This one is called Stars.
There, out in the darkness, a fugitive running, fallen from God, fallen from grace. God be my witness, I never shall yield till we come face to face, till we come face to face. He knows his way in the dark, mine is the way of the Lord. Those who follow the path of the righteous shall have their reward. And if they fall as Lucifer fell, the flame, the sword. Stars in your multitudes, scarce to be counted, filling the darkness with order and light. You are the sentinels, silent and sure, keeping watch in the night, keeping watch in the night. You know your place in the sky, you hold your course and your aim, and each in your season returns and returns, and is always the same. And if you fall as Lucifer fell, you fall in flames. And so it must be, for so it is written on the doorway to paradise, that those who falter and those who fall must pay the price. Lord, let me find him, that I may see him safe behind bars. I will never rest till then. This I swear by the stars.
Hey, what a performance, the fabulous Peter Corry. That takes us to the end of the programme today. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next time, bye-bye everybody, bye-bye.